Oven Podcast. Your table is ready. You can follow me.
What's up, guys? On tonight's episode, we're having dinner with Jackie the Joke Man Martling, an author, comedian, and writer who's best known for his work on The Howard Stern Show. We're back at Jackson and Comac, so you know Chef Harry Poole is doing his thing. The oven's preheated. Let's get baked.
Jackie, welcome to the oven.
When do we eat? So this is your sign.
That's our sign.
That's your sign. That's very nice. That's very cool. Nice to see you guys again.
Nice to see you as well.
Is your audience supposed to know that we met already?
Yeah,
That's
we had a
fun.
nice little dinner at the diner.
Planned this whole thing out?
A little different than the diner over here, I want to say.
Before you get rolling, can I read you the menu for tonight?
Yeah, I'd love to hear the menu, and I don't care what it is because I'm eating it.
All right, for appetizer, we got Kung Pao cauliflower with sesame seeds and shredded carrot. Then we have buttermilk batter fried cheese ravioli with shrimp and spinach and a barbecue cream. That's the entree.
That's going to be crazy.
And then we are going to do a cannoli for dessert. It's a cannoli empanada.
Oh, he's not reading me the menu to choose from. He's
No,
reading
this is
me,
the menu.
This is what we're eating.
Yeah.
Oh, I
You
shouldn't,
said you were ready for anything.
I
but
shouldn't
steak.
make faces then. Yeah, oh, I can't wait.
Oh, man. No, you're
No,
going to love
listen, doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to eat it.
You told us yesterday anything but
it. Anything
steak.
but steak.
Anything with, yeah, a huge steak last night. So,
Yeah, you said you were gorging last night.
right. I drove all the way to Philadelphia. These guys pay me a lot of money to come have dinner and tell them a few jokes, and it was really great. Now, are you making dinner with butter?
Yeah, it's very, very lightly infused.
Okay.
Do you not want that?
The luscious girl is driving me home. I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore, right? You can't say a girl's luscious. You can't even say they're pretty.
I don't even know how to spell luscious.
You say nice
Luscious.
hair, you get fired.
Luscious is a little aggressive, but I think you're right. I think
That's
she'll
not
let
it.
it
That's
slide.
complimentary. Is that complimentary?
Not in 2023.
Luxurious. Luscious.
And her pop butter sweatshirt. She's
It's not like I
luxurious over
said tasty.
Well, now you're saying tasty.
Oh, whoops.
Does
So, you guys got to. You guys, I have no idea the thrust of your program. So tell me what we're doing.
No, so we just want, all our fans to, learn about you, man. We want them to hear your story and your journey and how you got into the oven at the end, at this late in your career.
I feel like the Wicked Witch. Too many. It's funny. On the way out here, I could have driven past the place where we actually started comedy on Long Island in Huntington.
What's the name of it?
Vernon 110 and Northern Boulevard 25A. Upstairs was a place called Cinnamon, and it was a restaurant bar, and we actually started a show there because nobody was paying. We were doing a variety show at this guy Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn. It was actually a guy that had a restaurant bar, who had his face surgically altered to look like Richard M. Nixon. Now, if you were going to get your face altered, wouldn't that be the last person you would pick? But he had a good head start. He looked like him already. So we did variety shows there. And this is way, way back when, Eddie Murphy was part of the gang and Bob Nelson and Rob Bartlett. But he wouldn't pay us any money. So we went and found a bar that would let us do shows. And that's why I started my dirty dial joke, which is still going, 516-922-WINE.
Yep.
And I started that so people could call it and hear jokes and then hear where we were working. And that's been my advertisement for like 43 years. I just did a show Saturday night, so I just changed it today. I used to change it every day, but now when I have a new gig, I put on new dirty jokes.
Yeah, this is the guy. You sat down at the diner. We decided we're getting breakfast for dinner. You sit down, you order Eggs Benedict, and one of the first things I hear come out of your mouth is, "Oh, Eggs Benedict. Just like a blowjob. So good we can never get one at home."
Oh,
What happened to that, Jackie?
well, you were talking. I love the picture of the kids. I got no memory. I'm looking at those kids lined up in that black and white picture, and they're milking a cow. They're all milking cows. And I can't remember. I went to school in Michigan for 7 years. I think I milked a cow a couple of times. Wouldn't you remember that?
You would. I milked a cow
because
one
the
time.
nice,
I'll never forget it.
nice long little handle on the titty. I mean, especially in college. That'd probably be the best I did all week.
You sure it wasn't a couple of heavy girls
Yeah,
in
I
Michigan?
don't know. Well, there were them too.
But good old Michigan State, right?
Oh God.
You know what they say? I don't remember going to bed with any big girls, but I remember waking up next to them.
Oh God. I got so drunk one night at my house, and I came downstairs, and there was a bunch of guys there. There was a band that used to come over to my house after they played in town, and I came downstairs and I said, "You guys, I just set 2 personal records." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, I just fucked the fattest girl I've ever fucked, and I just fucked the fattest girl I've ever saw. She was a
Been
big
there.
girl.
She was
Oh,
probably
man.
cute, though.
Oh, she was so fat at the bottom of her pussy, they speak Chinese.
Oh, my God.
See, now you asked me to get dirty. Now you're going to be sorry.
We're not sorry.
Now you're sorry.
Do you?
Now you're sorry.
We all been there.
Oh, man. You hungry?
I'm so hungry. I
Let's
could
get the
eat
appetizer in. You can eat me?
you. I could eat you.
Whoa.
Pause.
So tell me about you guys. I don't remember how you guys are in cahoots. You grew up together.
Yeah. Yep. So we actually grew up playing baseball together.
Oh, baseball players. That's what it was.
You played some ball yourself too, right?
I thought it was like 10.
I thought I remember you telling
Did I tell you about my father was a great pitcher.
Oh, maybe that's what you were telling us.
And he was an alcoholic. He was such a drunk when I was a kid. And I used to tell people that because he actually, in high school, he pitched a no-hitter. And it was in the local paper, and I still have the...
You still have it? Nice.
Yeah, the little article. There's like 4 people in the town. Anything anybody did was news, I said, yeah, in high school, my father pitched a no-hitter, and he's been celebrating ever since.
How long were you on Stern for?
I was on 1 day a week for 3 years, and then I was the head writer for 15 years.
What's it like being a part of such a show like that?
It's like, does a fish know it's in water? You just lived it, It just, when he went to mornings, he was already doing really well. We, however you say it. Sometimes I say we and I feel guilty, and sometimes I say he, and if that's not fair, I was there too. But we went to mornings.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you were there for 20 years almost, it's we, for sure.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. So we went to, I was there 1 day a week for 3 years, and then he got fired and got rehired. And then he went to mornings in February of 1986. And we just went to the moon. But it was gradual. It was just like slowly, bigger and bigger and bigger. And, there weren't any real milestones that would rubber stamp anything. One real milestone, after we got, there was a thing called the E-Show, where they would come and shoot the show and put together X amount of the footage for a TV show at night. And
Was that on HBO?
it was on the E channel.
It was on E.
ETV had just started. And, then we started getting known, like people, like people around Long Island, they already knew me because I've been loudmouth for so long, all through the 70s. And then, I was headlining for years before I met Howard. And, but then we're getting known all around. And we went to New Orleans. My wife and I went to New Orleans for a charity show. And we were on Bourbon Street, upstairs in this little restaurant, sitting at a wrought iron table in New Orleans. And the waiter just comes over and says, "Hello, Jackie. Hello, Nancy." Not just me. He knew my wife, I said, "We're getting famous. We're not in Comac. We're in friggin' New Orleans, and this guy knows us, So
Everyone
Does
keeps
that-
bringing up New Orleans.
Does that still happen, though? It's still got to happen all over the place.
well,
People seeing you, knowing you, especially around Long Island, right? Like when we walked into the diner, some of those people turned around like they wanted to
Yeah.
say
No,
hello,
no,
but
people-
they didn't.
yeah, well, fame is very funny. If they know who you are, they do, and if they don't, they don't. Like who could care less? But I was going to the Jim Kerr show, and I got off the train. I was walking through Penn Station, and a guy came running up to me and didn't say, hello, Jackie, or are you Jackie, or do I know you? He just came up and said, Jackie, I'm having a rough day. You got to give me one, man. You got to give me one. Like dentist, something on a dentist. So just give me one, man. So I told him a dentist joke, and he laughed. He says, thanks, man. That's all I needed. And he ran away.
Do we get to hear the joke?
Huh?
Do we get to hear the joke?
That's so much better than a picture.
Like
so much better than a picture.
What?
So it's like because you remember that. How many people have you taken pictures with that you're like,
oh yeah,
that's just another picture. But this guy, we're telling a story about it now.
I told the guy the blonde goes in to the doctor's office and says to the receptionist, did I leave my panties here? The receptionist says, no. She said, oh, then they must be at the dentist.
That was good.
It wasn't dirty, but he made his day.
That was good.
No, that is good.
I'm sure he's telling that story too, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, without
for
a doubt.
That was very flattering, you know. That used to happen on the way home. We'd get done with the show. I would get home to Bayville and actually be swimming in the Sound when the 12 o'clock whistle went off. You know, we're already done home in the water.
What time do you have to be there in the morning?
I'm sitting there with my pen ready to go at 6 o'clock.
Jeez, right.
But, you know, on the way home, we'd get out and the Grand Central they'd be doing construction in the summer. So, you know, your eyes are closing from being up so early, but be so much traffic. But people knew me. They wouldn't, just like the other guy, they wouldn't say, hey, are you that guy? Or do we know you from radio, blah, blah, blah. They would just casually ask me something like we're mid-conversation. Like, you know, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden the guy in the car next to me goes, so what she look like? You know, she wasn't that nice. Howard builds people up, you know. Everything that happened on the show really did happen on the show. There was nothing made up. Except for the fact when he's talking about these girls being 9s and 10s, they were 2s and 3s, and that's being fucking generous. You know what I mean? And I say, oh yeah, you know, she was a pig, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's what I thought. I said, hey, take it easy, man. You know, so funny. Oh, you can't say that anymore. A girl was a pig. You can't say she's luscious. You can't say she's a pig. Yeah, I met this girl. She had 2 boobs and 2 legs. Can you even say that? I don't know. You know.
Well, you have to ask if she identifies as a girl.
Oh, please. My God.
Now we're getting into something.
I've been with women that I wouldn't have identified as a girl. My God.
But who would you say is your favorite guest ever to have on the show?
You know, there's so many frequently asked questions, and that's the most frequently asked question. There's no real one answer, but me and Fred, the other writer, loved when Pat Cooper came on because he was so energetic and explosive, and you never knew. But Belzer recently passed away, Richard Belzer, and he was always good. And like there were people like Peter Noon from Hermits would come on and we'd write a song parody every time he came on, and he would sing it cold, which made him a great guest. You know, if somebody wanted to play ball with you, you know what I mean? But I just know. You can tell somebody's a good guest when you're looking forward, like, oh, Pat Cooper's coming tomorrow. Oh, you know, I look forward to that, you know.
Like you
and Gilbert, of course. Gilbert was great, you know.
He used to get excited over Beetlejuice too, right?
No. No, not even a little bit. He just was kind of not the tail end. I think maybe the last year I was there. Came in every couple months or so, or, you know. You know, if you're a funny guy and you write funny lines to make the show witty, having just somebody walk in from a carnival, you know, you can't, it's like, you know, you don't compete, you know, don't go on stage after dogs, and you don't go on stage after, you know, children. And I think that you have to, don't go on stage after horribly misshapen dwarf, you know. But you know, God, he's just an oddity.
He seems like a lot to do with that guy.
Oh, jeez. But look, you know, it's funny looking back. But I think I told you guys last time I saw you, like, there was never a time when that guy walked in the studio that I didn't go, holy shit. You know, because you're just not prepared. You just aren't prepared. You know, I think I know what this guy like. Whoa. You know. And he was an egomaniac, which just was so hard to believe. Just.
I remember how you felt about him. I just had to bust your balls a little bit.
Oh, no, I know that. I was just trying to be a good soldier, you know, like pretending I liked the food.
Pretending, look at his plate.
I'm kidding, Harry. It was really good. In fact, I'm waiting for seconds. I'm sure we're on a limited budget.
Who's your least favorite guest that they've had on, other than Beetlejuice?
You know who I really did not like? The guys called the Jesus Twins. I really didn't like them. I hated when Donald Trump came on the show because he was just such a pompous piece of shit bore, and that's got nothing to do with blue state, red state, Republican, Democrat. He was just a pompous piece of shit. And there was very few guests I didn't, you know, very few people came on that you didn't enjoy, you know.
So he was your least favorite guest that you guys had slotted on, huh? Well, one of them at least.
No, I didn't dislike anybody, you know, like, because they're all fun. If somebody's a guest, you know, even if somebody came in and nobody even really actually picked on me, but it could only be fun, you know, like, because nobody really made you uncomfortable, you know. That's what would make it not fun for me if somebody made me uncomfortable, but nobody made me uncomfortable, you know.
And they even made you a puppet.
That's the greatest. I'm sure I told you that whole story.
Tell us a little bit about it. Because I love it, man. I was watching that all last night.
I pulled in my driveway one day, and my friend Billy was sitting here in his truck, and there was a guy I didn't know sitting at shotgun. And between them was this little Jackie. And it had a joint in its mouth and a little tiny Budweiser that they had made out of a tomato paste can. I said, what is this? And Billy said, oh, Tom made that. He said, they figured there's a Gary puppet, there should be a Jackie puppet. So you got to take it into the show. And I said, I can't take that into the show, because if I take that into the show, Howard's going to go, here's Jackie, a little more, let's promote Jackie, let's talk about Jackie, and we would have taken it and thrown it right in the garbage. I said, what you got to do is you've got to come in to the show like you're fucking with me. And come in the back door like that. And then a couple of days later, Gary comes in and says, hey, Howard, the guy in the lobby got a dummy with him, looks a lot like Jackie. He says, this is a Jackie dummy. And he's with his wife, and his wife's awful pretty. And Howard said, bring him in. And the guy came in, and everybody took turns playing with the Jackie puppet. And I acted like I was all, you know, oh, man, what are you doing? You don't need that thing. Get out of here. And meanwhile, this guy Tom and me are winking at each other. And it worked just like a charm. And that thing was just about the star of the show for a while. You know, it's a running thing. We're trying to figure out, because it was very soon after, like one of the main things that Billy did with the Jackie puppet was he attacked Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien was booked on our show because he was about to get canceled. And he was doing everything he could. And he came on the show. I'm sure he didn't even want to. And when he came in, I wrote the note. The first thing Jackie puppet was, he said, it's Conan, oh, bye-bye. Hey, bye-bye, Conan. You know, and just attacked him viciously for the whole time he was there. And it wasn't long after that, I'm pretty sure, that they came up with Triumph, the insult comic dog, or however you say it. Because I'm sure
so it's kind of stole the idea.
It's so evident, which anybody who's ever seen ventriloquist, the dummy or the puppet can say anything.
Yep.
So you come up with the dog puppet. It's, you know, it can be absolutely foul and crazy. I mean, it's not, no, we didn't invent that. That's the oldest thing in the world. But, we think that Triumph, the insult dog, grew out of the Jackie puppet, but we'll never know. We'll never know.
Very interesting.
I'd love to know the origins of that. You want your main course?
We're having more of this?
No, we got.
You're not going to eat your food?
He never
you want
finishes.
You want some?
Why? You're the size of a house. How could you not?
Come on.
I'm watching Jackie spill it all over his
How
shirt.
could that be good? What was it?
It was cauliflower.
Yeah, cauliflower.
I'm going to pretend it was shrimp. Bring on the food.
Shrimp is over here, no?
Bring on the food.
You're listening to the Oven Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
We're back.
Oh, I thought it was catching the flies from the kitchen.
This looks amazing.
Yeah, this looks
I
unbelievable.
cannot wait.
Very good.
Try not to get any more on your shirt, all right? So you brought
How
up
much
Joke
fat
Land
is in this?
before.
I know I'm going to wind up with a Puerto Rican hooker.
Very, very little bit. We're going like 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams per plate.
Whatever.
I got a question for you.
8 inches.
Call you out on that one.
What's your body count?
What's your body count? I'm interested, man. I want to know, how you got into comedy. Like, what was that driving force for you?
There was none. There was my older cousin read a dirty joke to me and my friends. We were having a snowball fight, and we were cold, so we went into my friend's house, and we're sitting on the living room floor, freezing our asses off. Our lips are all blue. We're dripping wet, and we're going to try and get warm so we can finish the snowball fight. My cousin walked in and read what it turned out was it was a filthy parody of The Night Before Christmas. And in later years, I pieced it together in my mind, but then it was one of those things that just went around forever. It was mimeographed, then it was faxed, then it was emailed. It's just been around forever. But when he was doing it, my friends, we were little kids. I'm in 3rd grade and you're in 2nd grade. He's in 4th grade. It's a little tiny town. And everybody was so mesmerized and like they were so instantly entertained and laughing that they forgot they were wet and they forgot they were tired and they forgot that they were cold. And I think something clicked in my head. Wow, that's cool. I'm in 3rd grade, whatever. That's neat, whatever. And I just remembered every joke since then. They just, not every joke, but I mean, I've never met anybody that was this,
But I didn't like jokes?
no, but there was that concentrated, like in 2nd or 3rd or 4th grade, they give you a list of books to buy, like you could spend your parents' money and you could buy Catcher in the Rye, or you could buy The Adventures of Huckleberry. And there was always a couple, and I was always the guy that bought whatever joke books they had every year, And I just remembered jokes and told them, and I was a little guy. So I'm sure I was doing it to, get some attention. I love to this day, I just live to make people laugh hard. And people say, why do you tell dirty jokes? Well, that's because people laugh harder at dirty jokes. Jokes come from tension. You set up a certain amount of tension just by telling a story. There's anticipation where it's going. And that's why the more of a J-hook the joke makes, the more of a twist, the funnier. But a filthy joke will get a bigger laugh than a clean joke. It's just, that's how it is because there's more tension. And if I make somebody laugh so hard that it's like I just punched them in the stomach, that's what I'm going for. And that's what I love. And I always did it. And then I became a musician, and musicians love dirty jokes. And I always told them and I always listened to them. And then when I quit music at 31 years old, I knew a million dirty jokes. And I never had any intention of being a comedian. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't even know there was a choice. I've told these stories so many times, but when I was in college, put together a band, and you don't realize what a rube you are, and somebody says to the drummer, Nick, what's your major? And he said radio and television. And I could still remember how it hit me. I'm like, you can't choose that. You don't just get to say, I'm going to be in radio and TV. You got to be chosen. You got to be anointed. Like you're going to be a comedian. That's because somebody comes down and says, okay, you're going to be a comedian, you know. And it never dawned on me that it was a learned thing and you could take classes in TV and radio. You know, it's not going to make you prettier and maybe you're not going to be a star, but you can certainly learn the business. And it just was an eye opener. You know, it never dawned on me that you could do that. But I had no intention of doing any of that. And when my band broke up, all I had was my dirty jokes, but I never had any intention of being a comedian. Like when I was in my band, we told jokes. By 1982, I had 3 different comedy albums, self-produced. And I just sent them to Howard Stern. Somebody told, I didn't know who the fuck he was. And I was working in Washington, D.C., and a guy said, hey, this guy got fired down here, and he's going to NBC in New York. You should look him up because you're as crazy as he is. So I just mailed my comedy albums to this guy. And like a month later, he called me up. Hey, you're really funny. You want to come sit in on my show? I'm like, sure. Meanwhile, I'm hosting shows at Governor's Comedy Shop in Levittown.
Represent.
And now all of a sudden, here I am in 30 Rockefeller Center, and I'm walking up the stairs, and there's, you know, Carson and Letterman and Imus and every other star in the universe. I'm like, this is not fucking Levittown, you know. And then we went in, and I sat there, and for 4 hours we laughed. And at the end of the 4 hours, he said, you're a lot of fun. Come back next week. And like they say, the rest is a mystery.
Be careful with the tail there.
Huh?
Be careful with the tail.
I know what I'm doing with the tail.
And you have your book, The Joke Man, Bow to Stern. It was an autobiography, correct?
The Joke Man, Bow to Stern. And I always tell people the same thing. You can't go on Amazon and order Bow to Stern. Because if you order Bow to Stern, you get a 7th grade sailing manual. Because bow to stern, it's sailing, you know, a ship bow to stern. So you got to do The Joke Man, Bow to Stern. And since I last saw you guys, we finally got distribution finalized for my documentary. They did a documentary on me, and it's not bad. And Random Media did it, and it's going to come out. It's not going to come out. It's not going to, you know, it's not going with the wind, but it's going to be on a lot of platforms starting in July, which will be exciting. And I'm going to go around the country and show the documentary and do Q&A. Because when people see it, people that were fans of the show or fans of me or fans of jokes, everybody's got a question, you know, about this joke or why this, or my uncle used to say this joke and what was the end of it, you know. So it'll be so much fun going around and hosting that, you know. But, and we'll do one. We'll probably do a couple of them here on Long Island. You know, you guys come out and
we will definitely.
We'll put pot butter on the popcorn and we'll have a merry old time.
Looking forward to it.
Have you done that already? Put butter on popcorn?
Man, that's actually one thing we haven't done. I've put butter on almost anything else you can imagine, but I guess I just haven't really had.
You know, it's really funny because I don't eat, but I always get plain popcorn. I don't like. You know,
no butter.
Yeah,
Like the last time.
If I'm gonna eat popcorn, I don't want anybody to come on us. You know.
You're listening to the Oven Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
So we heard you got the story you got to tell.
So, you know, we're talking about putting butter on popcorn with pot in it. Then I realized we're eating stuff that has some pot in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's had any effect, but meanwhile, I haven't shut up. And it was so funny. I was driving my grandmother. It was the 4th of July. We always had huge parties. We still do it at my house every 4th of July because I live right on the water. And my grandmother insisted on coming. So she's sitting on the beach in her lawn chair. And of course, at the height, the sun's just about to go down and it's going to kick into gear. Grandma wants to go home. So I grabbed this girl, Angie. I said, come on, Angie, you got to take a ride with me. And she gets in the back seat and I get in the front seat and grandmother's sitting shotgun. And I'm a hippie, you know, I got long hair down my back. I don't know, it's 1976, 75. We get in the car and I said, Grandma, you know I love you, right? She said, yeah. You know I would never, ever do anything to hurt you, right? She said, of course. I said, take a hit off this. And she took like 3 hits off the pot. And I drove her home to Mineola. And we pulled up at Bumber Place. And she said, I guess that stuff didn't do anything. I said, Grandma, you haven't shut the fuck up since we pulled out of the driveway. We didn't get in a word edgeway. You've been yakking for 40 minutes, going a mile a minute. You're stoned out of your head.
So
that's what making me think. I'm yakking like a maniac. I realize.
It's hitting you.
this is what you're here for.
But I don't. But I always yak anyway. So it's,
That makes me think of the time when my grandma was like, you guys are always smoking that stuff. Let me try some.
Oh, she wanted to.
Oh my God. She took 2 hits of the joint. Actually, I think it might have been a bong hit. No, it was a joint. It was a joint. And she was falling over. We had to put her to bed. It was so bad.
You're lucky she didn't die, man. Wow.
She's strong, that one.
Yeah, she is.
It's gentle.
What about the pot song? Did something in particular inspire that? Other than pot?
I mean, that song is ridiculous.
Now, which pot song?
The one that you sent us the other day. What is it? I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out.
That's the new pot song. Did I tell you where that came from?
No.
You just send us the email. You're like fresh off the presses.
Oh. Did I send you a little video?
Yeah.
Oh. That was right after we had written it and I decided we were going to actually record it. We were just making up as we went along. The guitar player was Les Paul's guitar player. Les Paul's great guitar player in the entire universe, who's hailed by everybody from McCartney down to, Steve Miller, he's everybody's hero. And Frank was his guitar player, which is kind of like being Dolly Parton's tit stand-in, And Frank loved that song, and the other guys in the band there loved the song. But that song, there was a girl I've known for a long time. And I was driving to Manhattan to my apartment. I could still remember. I'd just gone past Leaf Rack City. I know it's going to be a while before I get across town and get to my apartment. And my friend Jay lived in Las Vegas at the time. It's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, but I know it's a couple hours earlier there, so I can call her. And I got my phone on the Bluetooth, so I'm free with my pipe. So I'm smoking pot out of a pipe. And I call, and I get her machine. Hello, I'm not home, leave a message. And I'm like, oh, Jay, God damn it. Here I am. I got another 30 minutes, 40 minutes in the car. We could have a nice conversation. I wish you were there. What can I do? Well, at any rate, I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out, and I'm thinking about you.
Yeah,
and I hang up. And then in my head, I hear, I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out, and I'm thinking about you. I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out. I'm thinking about you. So I get my micro cassette recorder, a little recorder with an actual little tape. I don't know if you guys ever saw those things. And I hit record. I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out. I'm thinking about you. I'm driving along. I'm singing a song. And I got my dick out. And the people in the cars next to me are looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm laughing. So I get home and call Frank, this ridiculous guitar player. I said, Frank, I'm going to send you over. And I made the tape into a little MP3, like a computer file. I said, I'm going to send you a file of a song. I just wrote either the world's greatest song or the world's worst song. I'm not sure which it is. It's definitely one way or the other. I sent it to him and he called me up and said, that's the funniest fucking thing I ever heard.
And you were in a couple of movies too, right?
One worse than the other. The Stern movie is great. I was in a movie called Venus in Vegas, where I make out with Florence Henderson, which is just not believable. I just loved it. You know, she was 70, I was 57, 67, whatever I was. Yeah, and doing the Stern movie is one of the most fun times I've ever had. I spent two days naked, not me naked, 2 days next to a naked Jenna Jameson. Do you know who she was?
Yeah, we know.
This is before her 9th boob implants, when they were natural and beautiful. And that was really fun making that movie. And that was an actual movie. It was like #1 in the country for a week.
Damn.
With superstars.
Which movie was that again?
Private Parts.
Oh.
Can I ask you something?
Nope.
Okay. So,
why do I have to answer his questions?
You don't. You could tell him to fuck off.
Okay, tell him and he can answer me.
Okay. Can you ask him? No, I can't do that. I got too much over here.
Ask the question! Look, he didn't even fucking touch it.
Nah,
I'm getting full, man.
What are you on, Weight Watchers or something?
No. How is your relationship with Howard now?
It's fine, and if you ask him, he says no problem. I sent him a happy birthday on his birthday, January 12th, and said, we're too old for this. And he wrote back, yeah, we're too old for this, you know. Glad you're doing good. You know, we have a fine relationship. You know, there was never any real animosity, just I thought I deserved more money and they didn't, you know, so it's that simple. But the world made it into a whole fiasco that it really wasn't, you know. I mean, the truth of it, could he have, you know, people say, oh, he should have gone to bat for you. And there was no going to bat for me. If he wanted me to get the money, he would have just said,
yeah, give
him the money, because it was his money, you know, like but that's business. And, you know, as far as friendship, we always had a great time. Like when he did Hollywood Squares, you know, I was the guy he took with him, you know, to go out to Los Angeles for a week. And, you know, he came over the house a couple of times after he was getting divorced. And, you know, we had a fine relationship, you know, he just, and, you know, he would torture me on the air, but that was, you know, like Mo didn't really not like Curly.
Yeah,
you know
it was all in good fun.
You know, I mean, and if they didn't like each other, it had nothing to do with the fact that he was poking him in the eye. You know, it would have been a business, you know. You know, and he's a good guy. He's Howard's strange, because if you were 6'5" from the time you were in 7th grade, you would be strange. That's just, you know, if he wasn't how he is, he wouldn't be who he is. But that's how it works. You know, I'm a little guy. I'm 75 and I can still run around, goose people and fuck around and be an idiot. He was 6'5". He had to act like an adult from 7th grade on. You know, you can't just sneak around and be an idiot at that height. So, you know, so I cut him slack for that. You know, he used to, whenever he'd break my balls, I'd say about being old, you know, hey, you're old, blah, blah. I'd say, how many 6'5" old guys do you see walking?
That's fucked up.
They just don't last. The heart can't get the blood to the brain. One day that's so.
Real nice. So you'd be open to
him having a heart attack? No.
If there was some sort of a Stern reunion project that it comes across, you'd be willing to participate?
Oh, in a heartbeat. People say, so funny, people say, why don't you go back on the show? It's not my call. You know, a couple of times, you know, after 9/11, you know, it's hard to talk about this stuff because it sounds so pompous. But we were such a unit. Howard and Fred and me and Robin was just, whether they like it or not, we were the Beatles of radio. We really were. And a lot of people didn't like the idea that we were split up, that, you know, some people hated me for leaving, other people understood, but it didn't matter. But the point was we were split up. And then 9/11 happened. And I wrote to Howard in all sincerity. I said, you know what? This town is just in such bad shape, and anything that could lift anybody's spirits. I said, I bet you it would make people feel really great if we put the show back together. But that wouldn't be in pompous. It just would have been,
You were looking to bring joy to people's lives.
Yeah, I honestly was. And I wrote to him. I said, Clinton and Gore couldn't even be in the same room the last 2 years of Clinton's presidency. And they were sitting next to each other in church holding hands after 9/11. And he wrote back, we're comedians, we're not politicians. I'm like, oh, yeah, you really got the fucking point of that. But the truth is, it would have killed him if I went back on the show and one person called up and said, it's really great to hear Jackie on there again. Wreck his whole day. But that's that egomania, that craziness. That's what makes him him.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot hold that against him, because if he wasn't like that, he wouldn't be like that. And if he wasn't like that, he wouldn't be him. Which sounds kind of crazy, but that's, you know how you are, don't be like that. It's like, you can't fault him for that.
Well, I think Via might have a question for us before we end over here. Miss Lustrous over there.
I'm not going to sit on your lap. What's your question? You're blushing. I can't even see that far, and I can tell you.
I don't know if I've asked this question or not, but I was wondering if you could tell me the story about the first time that you got high.
First time you got high. Sounds good.
The first time I put my dick in a girl's hand, she said, no thanks, I don't get high. The first time I got high, it's very funny. Pot's very funny because, I would say to people, like if I had some pot or something, I'd be like a 25-year-old kid, a 30-year-old kid, or 22. Hey, you want to smoke a joint? Nah, no thanks. I quit when I was 17. I was like, what? Yeah, because with me, in my era, it wasn't how old were you when you started smoking pot. It was, where were you in 1967? Because that's when the thing, there was pot in the 50s. It's always been around, but that's when it came on gangbusters. So 1967, and that's the first time I smoked pot. I didn't smoke pot in high school. My younger brother was a pothead. And he was 2 years younger, but absolutely ridiculously brilliant guy. And then I was in college, and I didn't smoke pot because there was no room in my brain. I was in high school, I was playing in a band, I was on the soccer team, I was on the gymnastic team, track and field, singing in the chorus, the drama club, the school play, had a girlfriend. I couldn't have had a better time. There was no room for more fun in my life. It wasn't that I had nothing against anything, but why? If you're having a full meal, somebody came up to us right now and said, you want a roast beef sandwich? Well, how about fuck no? But then in
always room for fries, though.
Always. In 1967, between freshman year and sophomore year, me and the guy I played with in high school, that guy Bates, we played between we played between freshman and sophomore year. We played between sophomore and junior year, on Long Island. And we played in a place in Glen Cove called the Molly and Me. And some friends came and they said, we got some pot. And I said, what the fuck? So on the band's break, we went out back and smoked some pot. Now in those days, I'm sure it was seeds and stems and leaves and garbage. I have no idea. I don't think anybody knew from anything back then. There's famous songs, Commander Cody, I'm down to seeds and stems again, because you'd be cleaning the pot that you bought, and that's all's left, the seeds and stems. Nowadays that stuff's not unheard of. But I remember coming back in, I was playing bass in the band, and I remember feeling like I sailed out over the people that were dancing and sailed back, and I said, whoa, This is very nice.
That was some good stuff.
And that was the first. And my brother did a backflip. I came home and said, "Guess what I did last night?" He said, "Wow!" I said, "Yeah, I got stoned." But I didn't run out and buy a bag of pot and get stoned every minute after that. But that was very memorable. I guess it was some pretty decent pot. I don't know. But it was a nice experience. Very nice experience.
Franco?
Wow.
I got it.
That's
Oh,
a
we're gonna
long
tell
time.
our-
Did
we're
that
gonna
answer your
first?
question?
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I didn't get high the first time I smoked it. Didn't do anything, but the first time that I actually felt it, I was on the ocean in Sag Harbor on the beach, and there was a full moon. And I just remember trying to walk back to the parking lot, and I felt like I was floating, like just walking on a cloud.
What's with you guys in the out-of-body experiences? Mine was not like that.
That's how we communicate. That's why they call it dope. I remember my parents used to go away for a week or two in the summer, and my house was it's a long story. My house was right in the middle of East Norwich and right in the melting pot. And the day before they were supposed to come home, me and my friend, whose father actually owned the Divine Funeral Parlor in Oyster Bay. His father paid us. We painted a funeral parlor. And we go down to mix the paint where he lays the bodies out. Oh, it's just crazy. So it's the last day my parents are away. So we each take a double hit of acid. As soon as we swallowed it, the phone rang and I answered, and it's my sister. "Jackie, Daddy just decided we're coming home a day early."
Fuck.
And I just took a double hit of acid. We walked from East Norwich to Glen Cove, which is a long ways. And there was a great bar there called the Gold Coast, where we always went. And it was like $1 all the beer you could drink. It was just it's just not a believable place. And we just loved it. And by the time we got down, I remember walking in and just going to the back and sitting there. And this girl I knew, I pulled her onto my lap. And she's sitting on my lap. And I'm like, I said to her, "Gene," he said, "Always this crazy in here?" She said, "Jackie, it's 7:00. It's not even hardly open yet." I'm like, holy shit.
You're listening to the Oven Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
What the fuck is that?
It's our mini oven. We're going to pick you out a question, and you got to answer.
What chef uses this? A dwarf?
It is a mini oven.
It's a mini oven. Okay, and so
You pick one. I'll read it for you if you want.
no. Leah would like to go on a date with you.
Her name is Via.
Via would like to go. I blew that. Have you ever slept with Joan Baez? Have you ever slept with people that were siblings? Not siblings of mine, siblings of each other?
Correct.
That's a great question. Give me 2 seconds. It wouldn't have been me with two girls.
Two guys?
That were sisters. But I'm trying to think if me and another guy were ever. That's funny. No, I would have to say no. You know the story about the guys at the bar, and he starts talking to this woman. And she's no spring chicken, but she's really, really hot. He goes, "You're very attractive." She says, "I'm 56 years old." He says, "No, really?" She says, "Yep." "Wow." She says, "Let me ask you something. Did you ever have a mother-daughter?" The guy says, "No, but like every guy, it's always been my fantasy to have a mother-daughter." She says, "Tonight's your lucky night. Come on, we'll take my car." So they go out, and she's got a Corvette. He gets in her Corvette. She drives to her house. They go in her house. And she says, Hey, Ma, you still awake?
That's a good Sarah.
Good.
So, no, I never have been with a girl with more than one. I think I've been with siblings in the same family, but never at the same.
No, it doesn't have to be the same time. Just have you ever slept with two siblings? It's not the SATs.
No, but listen, hey, it's been 75 long years, Number one, I don't want anybody to get mad at me for spilling the beans. But number two, I don't want anybody to get mad at me for leaving them out.
Go follow Jackie Martling on Instagram, TikTok.
Oh, I just put something on Instagram for the first time in a long time. I don't know what I'm doing with that shit. I really don't. And Twitter, and TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. But TikTok, I do a lot.
And don't forget to follow the Oven Podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Subscribe, and good night.
Thank you for coming, man. Seriously.
We want to thank Chef Harry Poole and his team over at Jackson's Restaurant in Comac, New York, for another amazing infused meal. Make sure you check out our YouTube page, click the subscribe button, and join us next time, because there's always an open seat for you at the Oven.